Well, the name Home in the Service of Science is all about an exploration of the relationship between domesticity and the science that gets done here.
They kind of felt that a link between science and something that everyone knows is home. We have artists in residence at the moment here at the LMB. So Mehrdad, Saif and Taranj Kansari. They've been working with us for over a year now.
We wanted some artists to come in and spend time in the building, talk to scientists, find out about the lab and how it worked, and then respond to that by making an artwork or artworks, which is what this installation behind is part of.
Taranj designed this structure, and this structure kind of represents a home in certain ways.
It started as a temporary structure, and then we managed to, within the budget, produce a very high quality product which actually can be permanent.
Well, it's an amazing structure. It's something very different. I think it looks a bit like a sort of alien spaceship has landed in the middle of our atrium.
Scientists have been invited to come and talk about different aspects to do with rooms of the house. Quite unique and different ways of thinking about what you do in the lab here.
It represents a space which explores the idea of different rooms in a house, and also other themes like safety and security, and general, it's a living space, and it's a big contrast from the rest of this atrium.
We're one of the sort of birthplaces of molecular biology. It's actually started by people that are sort of household names, even outside of science, such as Francis Crick and Sidney Brenner.
I mean, there's about 600 scientists here at the LMB and 200 support staff, so it's a big research institute, and you wouldn't normally get to come in and see what we do. So they've been finding out what actually happens day to day in the laboratory.
From that, they've gathered lots of information. They've gathered some quotes, which again you can see on the structure behind, and also lots of ideas which they're going to put into this final performance.
I suppose another component to the main structure are the posters, which have been really communicating fragments of our hanging outs in the labs, talking to the scientists, things that we felt as non-scientists quite intriguing and maybe more accessible to everyday people than specialists.
Well, I think people reacted to it in different ways. Some people think it's all a bit strange and wonder quite what's going on. But then a lot of people have got really rather interested and quite active, involved, and found it very stimulating, actually.
I don't think of dance just as movement, but for me, choreography is almost like a set of relations. So I don't really work in a choreography that is like a step 1, 2, and 3. The way I work is much more experimental. So I think in relation to science and the scientists that we've been talking about here, we have some like mystery. We share this mystery of like what's going to happen, what's the outcome.
It's very rare that we get that sort of thing where someone completely from a different world comes in but has a very creative mind and looks at us in a new perspective. I think it's been very intriguing talking to them and how they see things that we take for granted. I sometimes say that they're somehow shocked to discover that scientists are humans too, and that they have a sort of home life.
I've personally found it really useful and interesting to stop and think about things in a different way. It's good to challenge what you think and what you understand and what you know, and having something like this going on is really helping that.
There's so many fascinating ideas in science that I think artists find that very intriguing. I think somehow scientists, they have often preconceptions about what art is like and what art should be. And for them also it's an education experience, and to see the possibilities of art and the sort of different ways it can be applied and pushed, I think is also a good thing to expose more people to.
It's quite conceptual in a way, this type of art, as opposed to, you know, it's a painting or it's a sculpture. It's kind of a combination of lots of art forms.
Imagination, and the sort of imagination that an artistic project inspires is important for a scientist, because when we work we propose theories and we don't know anything for certain. Otherwise what's the point of doing this job, you know? And so having an imagination and look at the world in a different way is often very helpful, especially when you get an unexpected result, which is often.
The choreography that we are working on, in any case, is an experiment. So the way I work, I have an idea, I have a concept, and then I create like a set of restrictions. There are some things that are very clear, but at the same time we never know what is going to happen.
There'll be a grand piano, and I'll be sitting at it, and this is going to be called the experiment. And there's often when we do an experiment in science, we want to prove something. We have an idea of what's going to happen. Often what happens is you get an unexpected result, and you have to think about, why didn't it work the way I wanted, and do we have to try something else? And it's this constant evolution of changing the experimental design. So this is going to be mirrored in music in a way.
There is a creative component to the scientific experimentation and failure, and us as artists, we are very thinking on our feet, and the creative process completely takes over. That's been really interesting. Whenever you put these incredibly different disciplines together, you see the moments of similarities and the moments of differences.
I think it's a really interesting project. You know, if you are a curious person and you feel like you're up for something a bit different, where you can combine arts and science, I think it's going to be very special.
There's fantastic opportunities, I think, for artists to learn about science, and also scientists to think about what the artists are telling them about their work from a totally different perspective, which helps us think about how we can communicate. And it's been quite striking, actually. Some of the people who have interacted most of the artists are ones that have done public engagement work and obviously interested in the idea of how you can communicate science to the general public, which is very important, both to justify our existence and also to help public understand some of the difficult concepts of science and new ideas that are coming up that people have to start thinking about.
Taxpayers' money pays for our research, and we need to show people what it is we do through that. And I kind of really hope that people who wouldn't normally come into a research lab, for example, see stuff at a science festival or come to an open day, might come to these performance events and get a bit of a glimpse of what we do here and maybe become interested and find out more.
You're going to have a lot of different experiences. The audience are not just passive observers, they're going to be actively involved, and you'll be able to wander through a soundscape and movementscape of all sorts of different things. It's not really an open day to say, come here, this is what we do every day. It's an exploration of the relationship between science and art.
I think they won't find anything else like it. So this is the opportunity to see something really very different, and I think it will be really enjoyable, and you'll see scientists performing, which is great. So yeah, I really urge everyone to come down and see it.